I think blended learning helped me learn because it actually gives you like a visual and it puts you in like a fun situation to like help you learn.
I really like blended learning because it gets like triple the work done.
We define blended learning at Morton in a variety of ways, but for me the most important is about in the classroom, the blended learning model that is classroom-based in a rotation. The blended learning model in the classroom is based on workshop pedagogy. We work on flexible groupings, whole group, small group, or individual practice. And being able to utilize flexible groups is in order for the teacher to get to opportunity to do small group guided instruction, direct instruction with the teacher and a small group of students. Really allows us to differentiate.
We have about 300 laptops, maybe 30 Chromebooks, and 2 more traditional lab setups. We have 3 main programs that we use here. iReady, we use both in ELA and math, 10 marks in math, and Success Maker in ELA. The teacher starts with a very short opener. We've actually found that the shorter, the better, just sort of frame the lesson for the day and the objectives. And then there's normally 3 stations in our 90-minute classes that are set up. One is an independent station, one is a digital station, and one is a teacher-led station. Each of those stations lasts for between 20 and 25 minutes, and the students rotate over the course of the 90-minute period.
That rotation allows for a teacher to sit with a ratio of 1 teacher to 6 students for 20 consecutive minutes on practices, say in English language arts, reading, writing, or mathematics. The kind of feedback that she can give to children, the kind of things they can hear, the closeness to their work, so you're sitting side by side with a student in a piece of writing, or you're sitting side by side with a student and listening to their reading and you're close to it. It's probably more powerful than what I've gained from the technology part of it. Has been that. I would say that's probably the greater gain, is that it's allowed for personalization in a very practical way. It's made differentiation mean something.
So on the computers, you're basically just going to reinforce what you're doing over here. And then in Station 3, Alex? The goal of today's lesson was really for them to review writing algebraic expressions from a verbal written description. At the computer station, students were working on developing and matching algebraic expressions to vocabulary words, like sum, quotient, and then they were also going through how they would evaluate them using substitution on the program.
Today we did a photo analysis, visual text analysis, and we used the laying the foundation strategy. So we had 3 groups for blended learning today, using all the words that we already just discussed.
Well, some are bad, like smoke and gun smoke and stuff like that, but it's also good for cheering, excitement, joy, proud, honored, like those are good.
Awesome. So in the independent group, they are working with something that I choose that I know that they need some extra help with, and in today's case, it was main idea of a nonfiction text. And my 3rd group is the Success Maker group. They are also independent. Everything aligns with the standards. Any of the computer-based programs that we have used, we are able to see exactly what skill matches the standard for the ELA 6th grade standards. So since blended learning has come into our building, it's brand new to me as well, and I just feel like it has built a community in our classroom. Everybody's accountable. Everybody has a job. They know that they're counting on one another, and they know that I'm counting on them to be able to run those groups on their own.
I think the actual direct instruction station, they probably started enjoying more the more we did it. They like being in a small group with us up front.
I think that the students really like the fact that they're not nailed to their chairs. There's a lot of movement within the class. The most common thing I hear is that they can't believe the 90-minute period is over already. I mean, it really does go by quickly for them.
I think elementary schools have always worked on groupings and stations, but it was a challenge to get middle school teachers to think about that.
We have had many trainings, and Mrs. Lewis is always there to help us with whatever we need, finding the lessons, implementing the lessons. We've had iReady training, we've had Success Maker training, we've had some blended learning professional development, And that started in the summer, that we were already talking about that last summer. So it's been a constant and consistent effort to get us ready and going. A major challenge for me was the technology part of it, because I didn't consider myself very computer savvy, but this isn't as difficult as I anticipated. Actually, I've learned so much through it.
I'm a big proponent in the best way to get teachers to accept using technology in the classroom is to make them feel like they don't need to be the technology expert in the room. So I do a lot of push-in and a lot of planning with the teacher, and I keep going in until it's okay for me to leave. And that really sort of takes the pressure off. I would say that there's two areas where I've seen the most bang for the buck with this model. One is in the small group instruction with the teachers. The students can't hide from the teacher. And the second area where I've seen enormous growth is in the teacher's ability to collaborate, both as department teams and as interdisciplinary teams.
We just wanted to see if anyone had brought forward some activities that they could share with the group that maybe they've used that might work in either an independent station or in small group for the blended learning lesson next week.
This is going back to something that we developed earlier in the year. Phil had created a little sheet to go along with it, but we were looking at matching inequalities to their graphs, and the first time around we were kind of banking on prior knowledge, and it just wasn't there. So I didn't think that lesson was as successful as it could have been, mostly because the students were really, really struggling with it, and we had to go back and kind of reteach before we could do it. So I would like to go back and kind of see if we can have students matching an inequality to the proper graph and kind of cards. So I'd like to do it in a small group so I can be there to gauge where we are.
Typically, in a blended learning meeting, we look at our data. It always starts with our data. What do we need the kids to know? What are our objectives for this unit? For example, today's lesson, we knew that students needed main idea from our last common planning meeting. For this next blended learning activity, we discussed that they needed sequence of events, but because of the data in the success maker, we were able to say that, wow, all of us, we all have students with that need. So that's what we will plan in one of our stations for our next blended learning activity.
So the extended day has really helped in that. I think the biggest bang that we get out of that is the ability to plan collaboratively. In other districts that I've worked in, without the extended school day, you do not have that time to really share ideas and have all of the teachers of a subject area and a grade level together in a room.
Moving toward an extended learning time day has helped us with blended learning, and also in a couple of ways. First and foremost, the very practical way of extending time in English, language arts, and mathematics. We've gone from a 50-minute period to a 90-minute block every day, 5 days a week, all year, same teacher, same group of students. It's not a block rotation, it's none of that. It's a extended block of instruction, 90 minutes in English, 90 minutes math, every sixth grader. Another benefit of the extended learning is the time for teacher collaboration. They meet 3 additional periods a week beyond their regular common preps. These are organized and facilitated prep periods where they sit down and actually lay out a series of blended learning lessons with their next block of instruction, whether it's in mathematics or English.
It's extremely doable. I think sometimes there's apprehension about how they're going to fit it in. I think they would also have to make sure that they allow time for collaboration. I believe the 6th grade team has become a true PLC, simply just because it has forced us to come together and really discuss what's best for the kids in our individual classrooms and for the 6th grade.
So I think a teacher that is going to implement blended learning definitely has to be flexible. It's probably not going to work the way you picture it the first few times. Flexibility is definitely one of the biggest things. Classroom management, that comes in time. It's not easy at the beginning. Definitely have to have a positive mindset.
I think it's important that the teachers get comfortable with the technology, and I think it's important that the students respect how the groupings work and what their responsibilities are as members of each of the groups in the room. I think that the department heads play an integral role on making sure that the things are aligned and that the standards are being covered, and looking at data, the many data sets that we have, and how things are working, not working, what's a good area to target.
They have to know what they're doing and plan out everything like their lesson plans and everything. And they also have to let children talk to each other as long as it's accountable, because some children can't really figure it out themselves. Some people just need a little push or someone to talk to.
I think time is really important if you like plan it out beforehand, and also the way they arrange the desks so it's like easier and kids won't be like bumping into each other trying to get to the station that they need to be in.
People say that they really like it and it makes today go by faster. They like how we get like different things to do. It's not just like the same old, we go in, the teacher gives us an assignment to do. We get to keep on working and we switch around, and they just think that's really nice.
The way I know that this is working with kids and how it improves engagement and motivation and their self-efficacy is they tell me. One young lady was like, "Mrs. Rabbit, this is the greatest thing you've ever done." And I'm like, she just met me. She's like 3 months together. And I'm like, "Oh, really? And why is that?" This is I'm really so happy that we get to be on the computers like this. Just things I didn't expect to hear from kids. I was up in the world language class, not a place where I expected blended learning yet. When are we doing blended learning in world language, Mrs. Rabbit? We have to have these computers in these classrooms. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's what I mean by that, that happy trickle effect that I didn't anticipate, and I couldn't stop, and I'm not going to stop because it's becoming very powerful, and the kids themselves are part of it.